It is a phrase that should haunt every legislator, every judge, and every border force official in the United Kingdom. It is a defense so chilling in its implications that it fundamentally challenges the very concept of integration and public safety. The defense is simply this: where I come from, this is not a big deal. We are witnessing a catastrophic collision of cultures on British soil, and the casualties are the most vulnerable members of our society. Today we are looking at the horrific events in Nuneaton and Falkirk, not just as isolated crimes, but as symptoms of a border system that has completely collapsed, and a justice system that seems paralyzed by its own bureaucracy. We need to talk about what happened in Nuneaton. This is a town in Warwickshire, a place that represents the heart of England. It was here that a 12-year-old girl, a child barely out of primary school, became the victim of a brutal sexual assault. The perpetrator was not a local criminal known to the police for years. The perpetrator was Ahmad Mulakhil, a 23-year-old asylum seeker from Afghanistan. He admitted to the rape. He admitted to the crime. But the mere fact of his presence in that community raises questions that the government seems terrified to answer. How does a man whose background is ostensibly unknown find himself in a position to shatter the life of a British child? But if Nuneaton is the tragedy of the present, the case in Falkirk, Scotland, is the warning that was ignored. This is where the scandal deepens. This is where the cultural defense moves from a theoretical nightmare to a courtroom reality. Consider the case of Sadeq Nikzad. Like Mulakhil, he is an Afghan national. Like thousands of others, he arrived on a small boat crossing the channel illegally. Upon arrival, the British state, funded by the taxpayer, did what it does with tens of thousands of illegal arrivals. It placed him in a hotel. Sadeq Nikzad did not flee persecution to become a productive member of society. Instead, he raped a 15-year-old girl behind a pub. But it was his defense in court that exposed the rot at the core of our migration policy. His defense team argued that he should be treated with leniency because he came from a culture where such actions were viewed differently, where the safety and dignity of women are not respected as they are in the West. He claimed a lack of understanding of British laws regarding consent. Think about that. We have imported a man who stood in a British court and effectively argued that his cultural background made him unaware that raping a child was a crime. While Nikzad was sentenced to 12 years, the fact that such a defense could even be articulated highlights a terrifying disconnect. We are told by the Home Office and by political leaders that vetting is robust. We are told that integration is a priority. Yet, here we have individuals entering the country who allegedly hold views on women that are centuries behind the standards of modern Britain. And the statistics suggest these are not merely isolated bad apples. Data, discussed by migration experts, suggests a disturbing trend. In the last year alone, foreign nationals accounted for between 28 and 34% of convictions for sexual assaults on women. That is a staggering figure. It means that foreign nationals are being convicted at a rate more than double that of the average British citizen. When you drill down into the demographics, the picture becomes even more specific. Nationals from countries like Afghanistan and Eritrea appear in these conviction statistics at rates significantly higher than the domestic population. Conversely, migrants from nations like Australia or Japan commit these crimes at rates lower than British citizens. This proves that this is not an issue of migration in the abstract. It is an issue of specific cultural attitudes being imported from some of the most dangerous and misogynistic societies on earth, without any filter, without any effective integration, and without any plan for deportation. This brings us to the second layer of this scandal, the government's paralysis. Why are these individuals still here? Why is the system so broken that a Syrian national in Liverpool, convicted of sexual assault, walks free from court with a suspended sentence? In that case, a 19-year-old asylum seeker pleaded guilty to sexual assault. The sentence? 14 months, suspended. He walked out of the courtroom. He remains in the country. The justification given is often prison overcrowding. The prisons are full, so we leave sex offenders on the streets. But the deeper reason is the legal impossibility of deportation. The Justice Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, and the entire Labour government apparatus are currently trapped in a web of international agreements that make removing foreign criminals nearly impossible. We are talking about the European Convention on Human Rights, the HEA, IRC, and SHIOR. This convention, designed decades ago for a different world, is now the primary shield used by defense lawyers to keep foreign rapists and criminals on British soil. Every attempt to deport is met with cycle after cycle of appeals. They appeal on the grounds of family life. They appeal on the grounds that their home countries are unsafe. Meanwhile, the safety of British streets is sacrificed. The public is paying for this in more ways than one. There is the financial cost, of course. The hotel bills for asylum seekers are astronomical, costing millions of pounds a day. In the case of the Falkirk attacker, he was housed, fed, and given legal aid and medical care, all before committing his heinous crime. We are essentially subsidizing the very individuals who then turn around and prey on our communities. It is an absurdity that defies logic. We provide 4-star accommodation, weekly cash allowances, and free healthcare to those who have broken into the country, only for them to break our laws in the most violation manner possible. But the social cost is far higher than the financial one. The social cost is the erosion of trust. It is the fear that parents in Nuneaton now feel when their daughters walk to school. It is the anger felt by the community in Falkirk. It is the despair felt in Liverpool. When the government fails to enforce its borders, it fails in its primary duty, the protection of its citizens. By refusing to leave the Ector, by refusing to implement immediate deportation for foreign nationals who commit crimes, the government is effectively signaling that the rights of the criminal supersede the safety of the public. We must ask ourselves, is this a sustainable model for a nation-state? Can a country survive when it allows illegal entry to thousands of young men from cultures with fundamentally different values, houses them in hotels, and then fails to deport them, even when they commit sexual violence? The defense offered by Sadeq Nikzad, that his culture views women differently, is not just an excuse, it is a warning. It is a declaration that integration has failed. It is a declaration that we are importing the very social pathologies that destroy societies. The system is not just creaking, it is broken. From the small boats crossing the channel to the overcrowded prisons releasing offenders, to the courtrooms hearing cultural defenses for rape, the chain of failure is complete. Unless there is a radical change, a withdrawal from the ECHR, a hardline stance on deportation, and an end to the hotel accommodation system, we will see more Nuneatons. We will see more Falkirks. The statistics are rising. The warnings are flashing red. The question is, will anyone in Westminster listen before the next tragedy strikes? If you believe the safety of our communities must come before the rights of foreign criminals, make sure to subscribe to this channel. We will continue to expose the cases the mainstream media wants to ignore.